If you're poor in America, there's a number that you probably already know, and it's 211. 211 is a federally designated 3-digit phone number, like 911 for emergency. It's a helpline. It's available in every community, and 17 million times per year, someone dials those 3 digits looking for help. If you need food to feed your family, call 211. If you need help paying your heating bill in the winter, call 211. If you need a mattress or clothes for your child, call 211. When you call, a live operator will talk to you and connect you with health and social services that are available in your community. Most of the people who call are women. Most of those women have children living in the household with them. They have incomes that are very low and needs that are very high. And here at the Brown School, we are deeply committed to improving the lives of people like those who call 211. And we know that if we could somehow capture the stories behind those 17 million calls, that it would be incredibly valuable to service agencies, to philanthropies, to elected officials, to governments, to help them to set priorities, to allocate resources, to coordinate services, and monitor progress to improve the lives of vulnerable families. Right now, I can get detailed moment-to-moment data on baseball players and stock prices, but I can't get information on the day-to-day lives of the poor in America, until now. So our innovative solution is on the screen behind me, and it's called 211 Counts. And it's going to help us to track and address the needs of a nation every day in every neighborhood. So let's go on a quick 3-minute tour of 211 Counts. And we will start, because we're here in Missouri, we'll start in Missouri. If you look in the upper right-hand corner of this dashboard, you'll see that in the last year, 300,000 service requests came in to 211 in the state of Missouri. If you look at the blue bars that you see here, you'll see that a third of those calls were in the area of utility assistance requests. And if you click on utility assistance requests, you'll see in the green bars over here that most of those requests were in the area of help paying electric bills. If I go back to the blue bars, you can see that another quarter of the calls that were received were in the area of housing and shelter assistance. And I can see that that makes up 24% of the calls. I might also want to see the actual numbers, and so I can toggle to a count, a numeric count, and see that 66,000 calls last year for help in the area of housing and shelter. And if I click on this category, I should get a detailed breakdown over here in the green areas, and I can see that a majority of those requests were for help paying rent or making a mortgage payment. Down in the lower right-hand corner of the dashboard, you can see a map that shows the darkest green areas. So I can see by zip code how many of these what zip codes had the highest concentrations of calls about housing and shelter. And I can zoom in and I can see particular zip codes, like here in the St. Louis region. If we wanted to take a look at our city, here's zip code 63112 that I have highlighted. And you could see that in the last year there were 750 calls from this zip code for housing and shelter assistance. This zip code, by the way, starts 400 yards over my left shoulder here. And we know, because we've linked 211 Counts to the US Census, we know that in this zip code, the rates of poverty and the rates of unemployment are twice the rate that they are every place else in the state. Moving to the lower right-hand portion of the dashboard, we see what are called spark lines. These show time trends over 12 months. And I can look at any of these data and see how they're distributed over time. Let's look in the category of clothing and shelter. And you can see right here, there's a big peak in November and December. Why would that be? Well, if we look at the seasonal and holiday requests that are coming in, you see it's pretty obvious. There are thousands of calls every November from people who are looking for help getting a Thanksgiving meal on the table. There are thousands of calls in December for families looking for Christmas gifts for their children. But the patterns are more complicated than that. If I look within this same category at clothing, you'll see that the time pattern looks a little bit different. You now have a peak in July and August. Why is that? That's families looking for back-to-school clothes for their children. You see another peak in November when the weather begins to get cold in Missouri and people are looking for coats. Or I could look at the category of food, and within food, here's a category about feeding children, which we've talked a lot about today. And there's a huge spike in June and July. And that's because those families whose kids are getting free and reduced price breakfasts and lunches in school, school's out, and those kids are hungry and they're calling for help. Now, we may not be interested in the entire state of Missouri. Maybe I only care about where I live or work. This dashboard also lets me zero in and compare particular zip codes or my zip code. I can look at a county, I can look at congressional districts, I can look at upper and lower state legislative districts to see what's going on in the area that I represent, and you can see what that might look like if I make that selection. And then finally, I may not be interested in looking at an entire year's worth of data. I may just care about what happened in my community in the last week or the last month or possibly yesterday. And I can see that here. We believe that we've created a tool here that takes data that are already highly unique and not just liberates them, but transforms them into actionable information with the power to help communities help vulnerable populations. Thank you.